I want you to learn a lesson from the judges of the High Court. And they call them here different federal courts and appeals court and Supreme Court. Do you know that when a case is brought up before a court, the judge hears it, he doesn't pass a judgment immediately. He hears this side, he hears that side, and it goes on for days. I know cases which go on for years. And then finally, when the judge writes a judgment, it's sometimes 500 pages. I heard this, I heard this, I heard that person, this explains this, and I thought about this and I thought about that, and here is my conclusion. They don't take it lightly. It's Christians who don't bother about finding out anything. I passed my judgment. What does it prove? Such Christians have zero fear of the Lord. It says about Jesus, because he feared the Lord, he would not judge by what his eyes saw or make a decision by what his ears heard, because he wanted to pass judgment, verse 4, in righteousness and with fairness. See those two words in verse 4, righteousness and fairness. That means the underprivileged poor person, this is mentioned about the underprivileged poor in verse 4, should not be taken advantage of. The influential rich people have got power to influence judgment, but the poor person without influence, he can't influence the judgment. And Jesus was concerned that the poor person should not be taken advantage of. There must be fairness and righteousness. It is not that Jesus had no opinion. You read the Gospels, he had a lot of opinions. He says, you Pharisees, you hypocrites, you serpents, you generation of vipers. Of course he had an opinion. But it was after years and years of observing. When he was a 12-year-old boy, Jesus went into the synagogue. He never said a thing. For the next 18 years, he observed, carefully, sought his heavenly Father's discernment. And finally, when he was 30 years old, he tells them, you're a brood of vipers, you're hypocrites. And he gave them example after example, like this judge writing this long judgment. He says, you take advantage of poor widows and turn them out of their houses, and then you come to the church and make long prayers. Many, many examples. He said, that's why I say you're a bunch of hypocrites. And many examples like that. It's a very important quality that we must covet, not to judge, but to have discernment. See, in Philippians in chapter 1 and verse 9, Philippians 1 and verse 9, Paul says, I have a prayer for you, Philippians. You're a wonderful bunch of people. I want to tell you something. Do you know that the Apostle Paul never took any money from the Corinthians? Even when they gave him, he said, no, I won't take any money from you. In Ephesus is a very good church. He was there for 3 years. At the end of 3 years, he says, I did not take a single pie from you, cent from you. I took care of myself. I didn't receive any clothes from you. I didn't receive anything. We provided for, not only for my needs, he said, for Timothy and others who with me took care of ourselves. But from the Philippians, when they sent him money, he took it. He was not dependent on them. Paul was not dependent on any man. He earned his own living. But occasionally when people gave him a gift, like people would give Jesus a gift, he would receive it. You read that in Philippians 4, when you sent a gift to me again, I received it. And even when I received it, he says, I was not thinking what I need. I was thinking that God will bless you because you gave something to his servant. So I received it so that you will prosper. Even there, his motive was that they would be blessed, that he would not insult the Philippians. But from the Corinthians, he somehow hesitated. I can't take from these people. A true servant of God like that is like that. He's got discernment. But to the Philippians, this wonderful church, he says, there's something I pray for you, Philippians 1:9. You must love people, sure. But love must abound in discernment. Don't be fooled by all the people. Don't let your love be so blind that you get fooled by everybody. No. You must have discernment. You don't judge people. That's why I'm trying to give them a balance here. You don't judge people, but you discern. And it's very important to know the difference between discerning and judging. If you don't discern, you'll be like a zombie. You know what a zombie is? A man whose brain has been taken out. He just wanders around the earth like a robot and does not think. We're not supposed to be mindless zombies who don't even think. We must think. God has given us a mind to think. We must not be fooled. Jesus said, be harmless as doves. Doves never harm anyone. They're not like eagles. But he said, be wise as what? Serpents, snakes. Genesis 3 says the serpent was the wisest of all of God's creation, wiser than everything God created, and Jesus took that example. You know, when the devil wanted to come in the Garden of Eden, he didn't take the lion. He didn't choose the lion. The lion only scares people. He would have run away. He chose a serpent. Beautiful. Serpent is so beautiful and clever. And Jesus used that example and said, be as wise as a serpent, you believers. But don't harm like serpents. No. Be harmless like a dove and be wise as serpents. Be discerning. That means don't go through this world like a zombie, not knowing what's happening. Everybody deceives you. No.